Hey guys, we are here today with Coast to Coast Lifestyles with me, your host, Cassie Webb on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and Heather over in the East Seattle, Washington area. So we're super excited. Today we're going to be talking about it's episode 14, guys. If you've missed our previous episodes, go back and watch. But today we are going to be talking about how's the weather and how's the market. So Heather, let's start with you. I think your climate might be a little bit different. This is our weird time of the year, but how's it going over there?
Oh man, what do we want to start with? Weather or housing market first?
Let's start with the easy one. Like, how's the weather? Is it raining,
Sure.
snowing, sleeting?
Yeah. So right now it's actually just partly cloudy, which is interesting. As you guys have probably seen in last episodes, if you've watched them, I have a small lake outside my window, and it's been like blue from reflecting the sky all day, which has been really pretty. So the sun has been really nice, but we're gonna go back to rain soon. So typical for this time of year. And our highs have been in like the mid 40s with lows in like the mid 30s. So it's been fine, not great, rainy and cold, or rainy and meh temperatures. How about yours?
Yeah, we're good. Actually, right now it's like so this is the time of year, I'm not kidding. We have to like check the weather every morning before we leave the house because it might be 71 or it might be 34. Like you
Oh
just
my
never.
goodness.
So like yeah, actually sometimes this time of year we'll get like into the low 80s and then sometimes it's like we can have a cold snap and it'll be, 30 degrees. So it's like, and just about the time you get it figured out, you're like, okay, it was warm, it was warm, it's warm. And then you're like, it's warm. And then you go outside and you're like, nope, gotta go wardrobe change. I keep hoping, like, I put this on this morning and I was like, hopefully this is the last time I have to put on a sweater, but we'll see.
Oh man, we definitely have those moments with our weather too, but I don't know, they're kind of random. They're not consistent.
Yeah. So a couple weeks
Oh,
ago we
boy.
talked about like predictions for the year and like how our markets were looking like year by year. And this is our first month of looking at like the particular month, so January. Because our numbers always it takes a little while to get finalized. So it's usually about this time of the month we'll be giving you guys market updates. So tell us, Heather, over there, how is the market?
Yeah, so market has definitely been chugging along, and it's been January. We definitely saw a shift. I'll share my screen in a second. We definitely saw a shift in January, but even then, we're hearing rumors about how February has been going, and like we're seeing different things in the market, and so excited for February stats already because it's definitely changed a lot. But let me get my screen up here for you. So this is huh?
Oh, I just want to say, I think it's interesting too, because like you're saying, like you can feel it, like the climate of the market in real time. But when you're looking at this data, you're actually looking at, say, January closings, which likely went under contract in December. So the data is going to lag from what we know the climate to be sometimes that can change drastically, even from last month's numbers. Like if we're actively involved in the market every day, it's like we know when things are shifting before the numbers necessarily even tell us. So
Yep. No, that's a really good point. And it's actually I've been having, I feel, increasing conversations about this, even though it's always a constant in this industry where people are trying to guess what's happening in the market based off of their knowledge of buying a house 20 years ago. And it's like, no, our market changes at minimum on a monthly basis, if not a weekly or even daily basis. So having somebody who is actively in the market every single day is crucial because we're not using 20-year-old data. We're using what we're seeing today. So it's super crucial to understand that too, and how much it shifts. And you can even see that in the stats that I'm showing right now. So we are actually seeing the lowest inventory that we've seen for the past couple of years. So for January, we saw 0.9 months of inventory. And basically, for those who haven't been part of past episodes and know what that means, it essentially says if we stop selling homes today, how long would it take us to sell through the current amount of active homes on the market? So it would take us less than a month to sell all the homes on Seattle's east side, which is basically, for those who know the area, Bellevue, Redmonds, Kirkland, Sammamish area. So yeah, 0.9 months of inventory. And then not only that, but so in 2023, because it was past the COVID craziness, we saw a little bit of a dip in medium home price, but we're seeing quite the increase in medium home price again this year, which is awesome. And we're expecting even more appreciation as the year goes on. So that is that one. And then my other favorite stat that I like to share is actually looking at what has sold or how things are selling, essentially. So what is selling at market price, over market price, below market price. And we, in January, saw a very slight increase of homes that have sold above market price and at market price. And we're seeing a decrease in things that are selling at list price. So I'm using wrong terminology, list price, which is pretty exciting. And the average price over list that we're seeing is 4% over list price for those homes that are going over. And spoiler alert, when we talk about what we're seeing now versus what the stats say a month ago, we're hearing a lot more multiple offers going. I'm talking 10 offers on one home, kind of multiple offers. So we're definitely seeing the housing market kind of go in that direction. It looks like it's going to be a pretty busy year. But yeah, that's most of what I have. How about with you, Cassie?
Yeah, I just wanted to pause for a second if you could pull that up. So two things. I love seeing this from it's outside of my market. So it's kind of new. Like I see it in a different way than when I'm in the day-to-day over here. So one thing for those that just aren't super familiar with how the inventory works, between 5 and 6 months of inventory is what would be considered a balanced market. So essentially what she's saying is we could 5 times the number of houses on the market and still it would be a seller's market because the inventory is incredibly low. So that's fascinating. I also love the one when you showed about the list price to sold price. So it's always interesting, and this is something really important for sellers, to go over with sellers, of course, is that what you can see here is basically the ones that ended up selling below list price were on the market longer and sold under, which very likely, correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, your market could be different. It likely means they overshot the price. Right?
It's possible. It's either they overshot it or most of the homes that sell right now are the turnkey. They are ready to live in right now or have super minor issues. So a lot of the ones that don't sell are also the ones that they don't do anything. They just go on the market with their own stuff in the house. We're big on staging and stuff here. So they go on the market with their own stuff, maybe cell phone photos. It's just minimal effort that goes into preparing it for the market, which in our region, I know this isn't the same for all regions, but in our region, that is a huge detriment when it comes to going on the market and just putting your home in the best light. So a lot of those homes are also what end up sitting.
Right. So if it comes on, the conditions right, you have a marketing plan, you're priced competitively, you're selling super quick, and many times over asking price. And when you don't do those things, it's sitting on the market for a little while, and then there's always a correlation between the number of days on the market and if it's sold below the list price. So it's super important to work with a professional, get your best foot forward, for sure, so that you're on that sold above list price.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be on that end ideally as a seller for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's super awesome. Well, I'll show you our market statistics. They're definitely a little different. Let me get it over here. Hang on. It's always a challenge getting the screen to share correctly over here. So we're going to do Harrison County. We're not to 1.4 million just yet. We're riding at about 232 for our sold price. So it's actually down a little month over month. Again, these are January closings, which were probably went under contract in December. So that's not super uncommon. The days 35, so that's still really strong. Actually went a little bit lower. So these homes sold a little smidge faster. Holding pretty steady at the 96.4 list to sold. Again, super crucial that you put that best foot forward and that you have it priced competitively and everything. And if that's the case, we're still seeing multiple offers on some properties. We are still seeing a super high demand because our inventory, while not below 1, Heather, our market is at 3.41 months, which again, we talked about that 5 to 6 is like the balanced market. So it's definitely still more of a seller's market here. However, as you can see, these things have went down a little. It's really still a great time for a buyer, especially if they're wanting to avoid waiting until interest rates go down. More than likely, it's going to be a big buyer frenzy. There's tons of pin-up demand. And if that is not their goal to be their buying experience of having to compete with a ton of offers and probably going over asking price and waiving contingencies and things like that, if you don't want to drop everything you're doing and go buy, view a house right now because it's an emergency, then I highly recommend for buyers to get in the market now, because I think as interest rates drop, as we're still expecting them to, and as the spring and people are out and about, I think that our buyers are going to be in a very, very competitive market here very soon. So I would avoid that. Heather, do you have handy? I think it's so cool. Sadly, we don't have it, but you have a cost of waiting. Can you have that handy? Because that's so cool.
I can, yeah. Let me pull it up here.
Because Heather, we've talked about this before, right? The best time to
Yep.
plant a tree 20 years ago, the next best time today. And best time to buy a house, especially in an appreciating market, was yesterday. You're building equity, what have you. The next best is today. So this is super cool. We don't have this particular stat. Maybe I could put something like this together. But if you just tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, of course. So as she said, the first best time to buy a house is yesterday. Next best time is today, because we talked about this, like you said earlier, where people are like, well, if I bought a house when I was a year old, I'd be in a great spot. It's like, okay, but in 20 years, somebody's going to say, when I was a baby, I wish I bought a home. And that's today for you. So it's crucial, because real estate is pretty much your most guaranteed appreciating asset over a long period of time. So for this case, we look at previous year's prices and say, okay, based off of the interest rates and based off of the median sales price, how much are you losing out on per year? So in this case, median sales price a year ago was 1.32 million. And the median sales price last month was 1.465. So that's a difference of $145,000 in value of your home. Interest rates, yes, are a little bit higher now than they were last year. But even then, you're looking at losing out on $15,000 in equity on your home, which, for those who aren't familiar, equity is an amazing thing that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to buying your home versus renting a home, right? So your equity is something that you own that much of the home. You can pull that out later via a HELOC to use on whatever it is that you can use it on. So whether it be an investment property or whatever. So yeah, this cost difference right here is huge. So if you had bought a year ago when you first started thinking about buying, you would have far more equity in a home now than you would if you bought today. But at the same time, we're expecting in our local market to appreciate 5 to 7% this year. So imagine what this number would look like a year from today, and what number we're going to be giving a year for today on your cost of waiting. So it's such a fun tool. I do definitely love this. And I have a lending partner where he goes a lot more into depth on what the cost of waiting is and what every aspect of it looks like. So if we're ever curious, I can kind of prepare some of that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like if someone bought a year ago, they have 145,000 potential equity, not including the 15,000 that they've paid down. So it's actually like their net worth is 160,000. And from my understanding, especially if the interest rates go down, prices tend to go up. Like you're looking at potentially a much more drastic number next year. And not to mention, then the January 2023 people are going to be real happy because they'll be at like $300 and something thousand. That's incredible. And then the thing is, it's like we haven't had to talk much about like the non-monetary immediate benefits of buying a house, because I don't know what your rent is, but maybe you could rent something for cheaper or about that price. But the difference, and I know in my market, you can sometimes find a rental cheaper than buying, but people discount. What am I paying down? What is the equity going up? The value going up, and what can you do with that? So you can have potentially, at some point, you can have a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, or a home equity loan, and you can use that to invest and expand your wealth. So we'll definitely kind of dive into that a little more as well, and starting with next week. So tell us what we got coming up.
Yeah, so I've just been super excited about this month because I'm learning about something that I don't have a lot of personal history in, but your specialty is actually distressed property. So we touched on this a little bit last week, and so next week it's just, what do you look at when you're looking to purchase a distressed property? What are your options? What are you looking for? Just, I don't know, a little bit more into it. So I'm super excited to continue learning about this. And I'm almost even more excited for the following week because we're going to be looking at your most recent distressed property purchase and the process that you've been through. So it's going to be an exciting next couple of weeks.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we will see you guys then. In the meantime, if you have any questions or topics always that you want us to cover, feel free to drop us a comment, and